Am I the asshole for saying, "Just leave," at my cookout?
My sister Nicole, 34, brought her new boyfriend, Steve, to our family cookout yesterday. It's for about 30 people. For the sides, everyone brought in sides. My sister brought one bag of store-brand potato chips, and Steve helped himself to beer right away before being introduced to everyone.
We are having hamburgers and hot dogs and just hanging out with the family. It's nothing fancy. Steve asks, "Is this it?" when the first plate of hot dogs is done and waiting on the round of hamburgers.
My wife says there will be hamburgers soon, and Steve tells my wife and sister about his family and how they have barbecue chicken, steak, shrimp, and many options. I picked up the plate of hot dogs and told Steve he could leave and go to his family barbecue instead. He just looked at me and drank his beer, and I told him and my sister to go since this wasn't good enough for Steve.
I gave my sister store-brand photo chips back and told her to get out. My sister and Steve left, and the cookout was fine after that. My mom heard about me kicking them out and was mad at me and told me to apologize to my sister. Maybe there was a misunderstanding, but Steve was just an asshole commenting like that at someone's house and the first time you meet their family. My wife thinks I was right because Steve acted like that in her home, and insulting the host is a good reason to be kicked out. Others are split about 50-50 when they heard about what happened. Not the asshole, edited to appease a Redditor.
Mom, you're more than welcome to let sister's name, boyfriend insult you in your home, but he won't be doing it in mine.
Not the asshole. Why would you put up with this nonsense at your own home? I don't understand anyone who thinks you went too far.
Do they think this jackass would have stopped at just one comment?
Hell, no.
As host, you ensured your other 30 guests wouldn't be subjected to entitled, passive-aggressive bullshit.
Not the asshole.
They brought a bag of chips, drank beer they didn't provide, and thought you were cheap?
Rude, entitled, and deserved the treatment they received. Anyone who thinks you were wrong can invite them to their next party. Short, sweet, and to the point. I like it. Maybe considered an act of assholery, but certainly justified. Not the asshole. Not the asshole.
If you want food like steak, shrimp and chicken at a cookout funded by someone else, you better FKN prepare it and bring it to cook on the grill yourself.
Not the asshole. If they wanted it to be more than that, maybe they should have brought more than a bag of chips. Am I the asshole for telling my parents we aren't giving them money and they need to humble themselves? Throw away to keep this separate from my normal account.
I, 38F, and my husband, 41M, have been stressing over my parents. My parents are screwed as they took out of their pensions at 55 and have only about 130K each left. Their house has some equity but not as much as you would think as they have withdrawn from their equity line of credit several times. My dad has a 100K truck and a vintage Porsche and my mom has a 7-seater when they are the only ones now. My dad is very prideful and refuses to take anyone's advice, so it was a shock when they came to me and asked for money. He has had a lot of health issues and told me he's going to be taking Social Security now. He is 68, and quitting his job.
Which means they cannot afford their mortgage or car payments.
They totally blindsided me. I had no idea how bad it was until now.
Thinking back, I guess I should have known as they buy so much unnecessary crap, but my parents always acted they were rich. I told them point blank I wasn't funding them until I could see all their accounts and assets, and this caused a huge fight, but they eventually relented. I went through what they have and they really don't need my help.
They just need to downsize dramatically. My husband is a CPA, so he knows this stuff, and we went though and told what they needed to do. They need to sell all the vehicles and get a reliable sedan. They need to sell their 3,400 SQFT home and buy into a single home with a basement suite or an apartment.
I think the apartment is better as my dad struggles to mow the lawn and hires someone now anyway. But my mom insists she needs land for a garden. After that their SS payments would be enough and they would still have a small nest egg. This was met with them complaining that they would be living like prisoners. My parents were angry if they got a small single family they would need to rent out the basement. My dad insists the basement which he has as a man cave is necessary for life, and my mom refuses to downsize as she has a whole room full of clothes at their current home that can't fit in a smaller house. I got mad and told them they need to humble themselves since they are the ones asking for money.
This resulted in them yelling how ungrateful I am over the phone until I hung up.
I told them they have to do this because I'm not helping.
They still have more assets than my husband and I, and we have a son to save college funds for. My parents have been trying to guilt me by saying they gave me great Christmas presents and college funds, so I owe them.
I feel like that was a tiny proportion of their spending and it didn't put them in this position, but am I obligated to help support them when they can support themselves if they downside? Not the asshole. Poor planning on their part is not an emergency on your part. They can afford their lifestyle if they downsize, but they are choosing not to downsize. Instead, they want you to subsidize their lives. Don't. If they're strapped for cash, they can sell stuff. You are such a good daughter. If you had done that sort of audit and planning for me, I'd be singing your praises to everyone. You are awesome. Info. Why wouldn't they just rent out a room or two in their current house?
Downsizing doesn't work when the house you want to buy is similarly priced to the house you want to sell, especially if they want to stay in the same area. Someone who owns a $100,000 truck that isn't farm equipment shouldn't ask anyone for money. You are absolutely right that they need to sell their assets now that they need cash.
Not the asshole.
Not the asshole, they want to live beyond their means and want you to fund it.
That's a no.
Not the asshole, they just want to keep making bad money decisions and have you be the one to bear the burden so they don't have to.
Am I the asshole for giving the flowers I made for my son's and Dill wedding to my own daughter's baby shower? I will be as clear as possible. If you have any questions, please use an info, also on phone. My son's and Dill's wedding is at the end of June. Originally they were tight on money and were upset over the price of flowers. It wasn't in their budget and they had a very specific image. I looked at prices for what they wanted and it was out of my own budget. I instead offered to do what they wanted with fake flowers. They agreed and sent over images for me to use. I have spent over $500 buying all the stuff in my own time. They turned out great in my opinion. I got a call about 2 weeks ago that they won't need them anymore and that they have the money to have real flowers.
That they already booked it.
So in short, all my time was for nothing. My daughter was over and commented how cute the flowers were. She asked if I could make her some for her baby shower. I explained what happened and told her she can have them. Her baby shower was over the weekend and she used the flowers on the tables. It was a nice event. After my son and Dill came up and we got into an argument. They think I am a jerk for using their flowers for someone else's event and now everyone will think they copied my daughter for their wedding. My point was I can give them away to whoever and I don't think it is a big deal since they were used. That instead of me throwing them out, someone got to use them. Am I the asshole?
Bride. Even though I'm not using your fake flowers, they were based on something I thought about when I was 4 and now you can't use them for anything else.
Even though I'm not going to use them. They must be for me ever because I'm the only one who has this design and if you let someone else see it then they won't think it's my original design.
Rest of the world, you don't own flower designs. You did nothing wrong, and I'm pretty sure they didn't send you a payment for your time, labor and effort in making all those centerpieces.
Centerpieces.
He used them.
You had a nice time and the couple was completely wrong. AITA.
So they were happy for you to spend your own money and who knows how much time finding the supplies and making the flowers for them but are upset that you didn't simply throw them out after and your hard work and money went towards something?
Not the asshole, but you raised an ungrateful son and he's marrying an ungrateful woman. Not the asshole.
If they'd paid for all the stuff and for your time and labor, then I might feel differently over you giving them away to someone else.
Paying you would have made them their flowers. But even then, they would have been wasted if just thrown away. So it would make sense for someone else to get enjoyment from them. But they didn't pay you, so they were your flowers to do as you please. It would have been an absolute waste to just bin them. It's nice that your daughter got to use them and they didn't get binned or sit gathering dust. Your son and Dill do not own flower arrangement designs. They can kick up a fuss about looking like they copied your daughter's design all they want, but nobody owns flower designs. Edit, typo. Okay, let's see if I understand it correctly.
Son, Dill. Buwa, don't have money for flowers.
I can do arrangements with fake ones. Buys materials and assembles as wished.
Son, Dill, informing you. Hey, we now have money and already bought real flowers so don't need your fakes anymore. Daughter. Wow, nice. Could you make some for me? Op. Take them. Son, Dill don't need them anymore. Daughter uses them. Son, Dill. How dare you give away our flowers, which they didn't buy or reimbursed? Now everyone will think we are copycats.
Not the asshole.
Not the asshole. What were you supposed to do? Throw them away?
At least they got used for something. I got a call about 2 weeks ago that they won't need them anymore and that they have the money to have real flowers. Not the asshole. I don't know how you'd interpret this incorrectly. I mean, you'd basically have to be lying to us to be the AH. Am I the asshole for not helping my daughter to save her house?
A few years ago my husband and I were proud to co-sign for our daughter, 27 female, to help her buy her first house. We were happy to help, and despite not having a lot of money ourselves, we bought her a washer and dryer for her new home.
I called to check in with her regularly and see how things were going and if she needed anything. I know she changed jobs mid-year and I wanted to make sure she'd still be okay financially. She assured me she was good and everything was fine. We started noticing inconsistencies around Christmas when our credit score took a hit due to 2 late payments on her house. Our daughter told us it was a mix-up with the bank since a new bank took over her mortgage and she would sort it out. A few months later it still had not been corrected, so I called our daughter again. Something seemed off, so I called the bank since my name was on the loan and found out my daughter was 6 months behind on the mortgage. When confronted, she said the new job wasn't working out, so she quit back in December and hadn't been able to find a new job. I thought this was strange since we taught her not to quit a job until you have a new one in place to be responsible. I also asked her why she hadn't come to us and she said she was embarrassed. We gave her some leads on new jobs because we couldn't afford to pay the full amount she owed on the house at this point and suggested she get a roommate, and if she could get those things done we would see what we could do. It was a couple of months before she found a job. I don't think she even looked into the leads we gave her, but still had no roommate to help with the bills. At this point we found out from her grandfather that she had taken a large sum of money from him during that first year, over $20,000, and had just asked him for more, but he said he was sorry and he didn't have more to give. We still have no idea what she did with any of the money, and she never told us about this. Our daughter continued lying to us about paying the bills and has not done anything to help herself or save her home. The mortgage company said they sent her documents for a hardship extension which she never returned. We finally made the decision to not take money out of our retirement, which was our only option since our credit scores were now in the toilet because of this and we can't get a loan to save the house. This was not an easy decision to make, but we made it mostly because she had not tried to help herself at all and lied to us over and over again for more than a year. We told her she could come stay with us until she could get back on her feet. She not only declined but stopped talking to us not long after. This was not an easy decision, but if we had saved her house we likely would have lost our own. Are we the assholes? Save your own credit. Your daughter is being dodgy. Where did the $20,000 from grandfather go? She should be returning that instead of asking for more. She is ruining your credit and dragging you down with her through her irresponsible actions. You need to find out what the hell she's been up to that's dragging the whole family down and put a stop to it. Not the asshole. Does anyone else think this sounds a little like substance abuse? Your daughter is most likely an addict. Make sure you have your identity and all finances on lockdown. Change your locks and give family and friends a heads up to not give her money. Not the asshole. Your daughter is an adult. If she needed help, she should have been honest with you, which she should have been from the start, since you were affected by this because of the cosign. Instead, she has been dodgy and outright lied to you about her situation, besides the fact that she has not taken the actions she could take to help herself. There comes a point where you need to let her face the consequences of her own actions. Not the asshole. Like some others, I think it sounds like your daughter might be dealing with a mental health or substance use issue or both. She could have been fired because of the effect it was having on her work. And she might very well be in a shame spiral. I think the best thing you can do right now is make sure she knows you love her unconditionally and want her to be safe and healthy. That doesn't mean you just give her money, definitely don't do that, but make sure she knows she isn't alone and that you are there to help. Not the asshole. Millions of people out there just praying and wishing for a foot up the property ladder. This person gets it handed to her and she throws it down the drain. Such a shame.